like clapping along to things. Right. Fine. That's fine. Let's just clap along to something for the next hour or couple of hours. Right. So, all right then. Yes. Clap it, clap it. Hey. Clapping along to the tune-up. Well, hang on. Oh, I've run out of lead. That's the... Oh, thanks, Al. No, brilliant work. Right, so... Yes, it can be done. You can clap to a tune-up. Here we go. Why was I bothering with jokes and whimsy? I could have just been messing around with some stuff, unplugging, plugging things in. Your mind's addled with cheap cider. Should I do my laces up so we can clap along to that? Brilliant. Blinking. No, that was rubbish, right? Anyone know what this instrument is, by the way? Bouzouki, no. Mandolin, no. A balalaika, no. That was a sensible answer. When I was in Newcastle and some bloke shouted out, "Is it a balalaika lake?" I said no, and then he went, "Is it lake a balalaika lake?" And I said, no. And then he went into a Geordie frenzy. He went, but his head exploded and he punched a horse for no reason. It's not a balalaika. Anyone else?
Lute!
Sitar, no. It's not an oud. It's not an oud. Is it a guitar? No. It's not a lute. It's not a lute. No. It's not. Is it a lute? No. Is it a lute? No. Is it a lute? No. Time stands still at the Wychwood Festival. Is it a lute? No. Is it a lute? No. Normally I'd tell you, but I can't be bothered. No. It's actually a Turkish saz, alright? So there you go. You're all going, oh, we knew that, Bill. Yeah, right. Okay, I've got a little device here to help you clap along, right? Here we go. Bunch of tone-deaf heroin addicts out there, right? So... That's the worst clapping I've ever heard. And I've been to Southend, right? I did 2 nights at the Dunfermline in Alhambra. I mean, come on. Alhambra, of course, the entertainment wing of Al-Qaeda. So, let's try that again then, shall we? Yes, oh well done, good clapping. So anyway, I was in South Africa, obviously, and I was in, as you do, and I realised that the recession has got everywhere. You know, it's recession, isn't it? That's what we're in, not austerity. That's a horrible word, isn't it? Sounds like an old Victorian word. Austerity. The austerity package, like a Victorian game of pass the parcel. Eventually you get a little bit of paper that says, stop this frivolous nonsense. I was in South Africa. I saw evidence of recession here. I saw a sign saying, cut price shark diving, right? Now, I don't know about me, but if I'm going shark diving, I would want to skimp on it, you know? I wouldn't want the Tesco value option, you know? The one where they lower you down in a wheelie bin with a shopping trolley over your head. And then some bloke going, if the shark comes near, hit it with this golf putter. Flick it in the eye with the dough of the butter, and the shark will become disorientated and back off. Or it might become enraged, in which case the butter's no good to you. You're going to need something like a 5-iron. Now, this gave me an idea for a new kind of wildlife show, wildlife and golf. Hi, I'm Bill Bailey, and I'm high in the Hindu Kush, and these rare Peshwari voles have got to get to the other side of the valley. I put it in a Kevlar jacket, I'm not mental. Anyway, so I was in America, obviously, and I arrived in Atlanta, and it was a bit of an inauspicious arrival because I got stuck in the revolving door at the airport. It's always a bit embarrassing. It was a voice-activated door. It said, caution, door is... And I thought it was Danish at first, and because after the word caution, you want clear, precise instructions, don't you? You know, caution, what? And then I had the searing pain as the door smacked me on the side of the head. And it said, door may stop suddenly. I went, well, I know that now. And in Atlanta Airport, there's an extraordinary sign. There's a life-size dinosaur skeleton facing off the Interfaith Chapel, right? So there's a little bit of dissonance going on there. Because in America, there's a lot of very, very conservative people. They're all very religious. Some of them are deeply religious. Some of them are creationists. Creationists believe that the world was created in 1982 to coincide with the rise of Supertramp. Now, you can easily disprove this, by the way, by playing them some of Supertramp's earlier albums. But they won't have it. Because they talk about intelligent design, and there's not a great deal of that around, is there? I mean, just look around, they talk about things like a giraffe's neck, or the human eye, or the bombardier beetle that fires acid out of his arse when it's startled or bored or something. It'd be quite a nice trick to do, wouldn't it? You could etch your own name into glass at parties. But you need a special pipe bill. Yeah, all right. Sorry, I'm thinking about it too much. And there's not much intelligent design, really. I mean, if you look around at nature, cormorants are water birds. They hunt in water, they live in water, they are water birds. And yet their wings, not waterproof. Every time you see a cormorant drying its wings out on a rock for the millionth time, you catch its eye, it's looking at you going, you think you got problems? Male frogs, right? Male frogs will try and mate with other male frogs so often that the male frog has a release call to let the other frog know he's basically wasting his time. If you see two frogs in a pond going for it like that, like they're in a German porn film, right? Das ist gut! Oh mein Gott in Himmel! And the bottom frog goes, ribbit, like that. What he's actually saying is, leave it, Frank, you're embarrassing yourself. I've just had a terrible thought then. What was if I was to die then? Cark it, peg it, in the middle of the frogs shagging scene. That'd be embarrassing. On the obituary, yes, Bill Bailey on stage at the Wychwood Festival. He pegged it, carked it in the middle of some frog sex. Yeah, the last word. That would be my last words. Das ist gut. That's no good, is it? Actually, the cormorant thing, that would be better last words, wouldn't it? You think you got a problem? That's actually quite effective as last words, isn't it? You're right. You think you got a problem? Yeah, and then die. Yeah, I'm dead. My favourite last words, actually. You've got to have a few handy, haven't you? Because you never know when your time's up, you know. You never know when you're going to eat a Findus burger that'll turn you wrong. And, wow! Heckled by a hoot owl. You know, Mozart had some brilliant last words. Mozart's last words were, "I feel something that is not of this earth," which is brilliant and cool and brilliant, but, you know, if you say something cool like that just before you're about to die, there's a lot of pressure on you to die quite soon after that and not cling on for another couple of hours and then say something like, "Is there a potato in the bed?" And then you've blown it. "What's that scratching?" You know, I got something on my foot, and then that is just embarrassing, you know. My favourite last words were, incidentally, my favourite biologist, JBS Haldane, and I know it's yours as well. And when he was asked about God, JBS, he thought for a minute. He said, if there is a God, he must be inordinately fond of beetles. Which is brilliant. It's how I imagine God to be. An avuncular old gent in a leather-high wingback chair, saying, "Yes, of course, Beatles, marvellous things. I knock out a few every year." Tuck them away, Guatemala, nobody knows. They think it's evolution. So I went a bit UKIP there, sorry. They're hilarious, UKIP, aren't they? That's one of the great successes of the Tory coalition, isn't it? To scare Middle England into thinking that zombie Bulgarian benefit scroungers are coming to eat their friends, you know? So they've all abandoned the Tories for UKIP. UKIP are brilliant. What a brilliant party. Just about 3 sozzled Burks from the golf club. And their policy amounts to, smoking in hospitals, electrified fence at Dover, no women in the bar area. There we are, So... Anyway, so God, back to God, yes. So, anyway, dinosaurs, that was a mistake. Oh dear. Well, I was a kid, you know, and all kids love dinosaurs. These are my 2 boys, Graham and Jesus. Yes, Graham was going to be the son of God. He's the elder, but he's a bit cuckoo, you know. He's a bit hard of hearing. That's why he's only got 1 arm. He thought I said, "Lay hands on leopards." Should have seen his face. Jesus, fit as a fiddle. Yeah, faked his own death to push the book sales along. So, right. Okay, got away with it. Keep going. So anyway, Wychwood, I was in America, that was it. I love America. America's got great energy and innovation. It's also a bit of a paranoid nation. America spends a lot of money trying to stop nuclear proliferation and terrorism around the world. America gave Pakistan $20 billion to fight terrorism, and Pakistan spent $34 of it on a poster campaign which said, "Terrorism, no thanks." And the rest of it on a nuclear bomb. Now, that's a bit irresponsible. And also, it's not a very good bomb. You know, if they want it to go off, they have to wheel it somewhere in a barrow and get some work experience bloke to whack it with a toffee hammer while they run off into a bunker. A bit like that scene in The Dentist when you're getting an x-ray and the dentist said, "Yes, it's perfectly safe. I'm going behind these blast doors." So anyway, I was in China, that was it. And... So I'm a bit forgetful. I keep forgetting where I am. I was driving home, right? This is a true story. I was driving home in London, and I was stopped, and I saw something flapping in the road outside Buckingham Palace, right? And it was a goose that had been hit by a car. So I got out of the car, I got a blanket, and I wrapped the goose in the blanket, because I'm like that, you know, just trying to do the right thing. It's all in the police report, by the way. And I picked up the goose in the blanket and put it in the car, just about to shut the boot, and a cocked pistol was held to my head, and 4 plainclothes police officers with guns had just melted out the bushes. And he said, "Stop!" I went, "Huh." And then he said, "What's in the car?" I went, I couldn't speak. I've got asthma as well, but... And I thought, this is going to be my last words. And I went, "The goose!" Which is a terrible last words, isn't it? And he said, "A goose?" So there's a goose there. And he went, "Show me." Easy, easy. So I went to pull the blanket off the goose, and the other policeman pulled his gun round to point at the goose, which was now emerging from the blanket, and the goose's head turned round just as the pistol came up to his face. And then the first guy spoke into his lapel like that. He went, "Stand down, it's just a goose," right? And I'm looking around, "Stand down!" down? What is it? Bazookas trained on me or what? I was thinking maybe the Queen was bored, you know, one night, just bumbling around in the corridors of Buckingham Palace. I'll go to the surveillance suite. Oh, suspicious activity in quadrant 4. Commander, use maximum force. And then she was up on the roof with a sniper's rifle. Stand down, ma'am, just a goose. Oh, bollocks. And, so anyway, I was in China, that was it. And I was trying to learn Chinese. I don't know if you've ever tried to learn Mandarin. Very tricky. Because it's just the sounds are so sinuous and exotic and other. When you're learning Mandarin, you have to have a carton of off milk with you at all times. And it's very difficult because the intonation of Mandarin means that if you get it wrong, you radically alter the meaning of the word. I'll give an example. If you say the word ma in Chinese, in Mandarin, in 4 different ways, you get ma, 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 ma. That means mother, hemp, horse, or disappointment, right? That's a social disaster waiting to happen, isn't it? Since your horse died, I've been smoking a lot of your mother. And I wanted to... we've all said that. Since your mother died, I was smoking... No, and I wanted to speak with, you know, just locals. I wanted to order some food in a Beijing street market. I wanted to know what dumpling was. And dumpling, as you all know, in Mandarin is 饺子. Because the Mandarin is like that. It's got a surprise quality to it. Is that, I think it is, but I don't know. So I said hello, 你好, 饺子. And I was physicalizing it to help me get the words out. 你好, 饺子. And this dumpling seller woman looked at me like I was mental. Well, I get that anyway, but even more so, she looked at me like I'd said, I want to laminate a cat. It's impossible, right? And if you think speaking Mandarin's hard, the written Chinese is an enigma wrapped in a mystery, cloaked in a puzzle. Because, I'll give you an example, there's so much complexity in Chinese characters. There's all kinds of stories in there, all sorts of little beautiful sort of switches of the brush. The Chinese character which means I'm thirsty, if you deconstruct it, it means I wasn't thirsty before, but now I am thirsty. The character which means, you know, so it's got an elaborate backstory. That's what I'm trying to say. If you have a character that's for painkillers, is I didn't really like David Bowie's later stuff, I wouldn't mind some Nurofen. You know? I threw a stone into the pond, the ripples bounced off the bank, they met in the middle in a beautiful helix. I caught the eye of a water vole. Anyway, all that being that, would you mind calling me an ambulance? So, it's very tricky. So we were in China. I don't know if you've ever been to China. It's huge. We went to see all the tourist sites. We went to see the Great Wall, the Forbidden City. That's a rip-off. It's £4 again. And we went to see the Flower Pot Men. All of it touristy, yada, yada, yada. I want to see something else. So we went to southeast China, to Guangdong, to the industrial heartland. We went to a town called Wychwood, where millions of tons of e-waste turn up in China every year. And by e-waste, I mean, of course, old computers, printers, mobile phones, faxes, that we, in our sort of goodwill, with the best of intentions, we take them to be recycled, thinking that perhaps they're going to some shiny Wonka-esque recycler mat, where beautiful Oompa Loompas magic new iPhones while singing Oh Life by Des'ree. And it ain't like that. It's just, they're just being put in an acid bath. And in Guiyu, it's like Hieronymus Bosch by the sea. And we went there for our holidays. And it was there. I was taken to a Chinese restaurant, because there was loads of them. And seemed rude not to. And there, in this Chinese restaurant, were the usual things. There was lobsters, crabs bubbling away. But there was some more exotic fare. A salamander in a bath. Civet cats in cages. A cormorant looking doubly pissed off. And there amongst these oddities was on sale a live animal for the table, an owl, right? A Eurasian eagle owl, to be precise. And this thing was sitting there in the cage. I'm thinking, owls are supposed to be wise, aren't they? How do they catch this? Is this the avian equivalent of Chantal? Did it think it was not a nocturnal owl? You know, got the sun-moon mixed up. Anyway, so the thing is, something snapped inside me, and I thought, is this just the stuff they've got? What about the stuff they got out the back? If this is the stuff they're happy with you seeing, have they got a Bigfoot out the back, a Lorax, a push me pull you, a phoenix? Mind you, that'd be tricky to cook though, wouldn't it? You know? You'd have to trick it, poach it or something. And so, what I did, I thought I'm going to have to buy this owl, get it out of this hell. So we haggled with them, and eventually they sold it to us. And then it was all smiles then. These crazy Westerners want a takeaway owl, right? So they wrapped it in from beak to claw in sellotape. Now, I'm not an owl expert, but I don't think that's the correct way to move owls around. I've seen documentaries with tranquilizer darts, not sellotape. Anyway, they sellotaped it up, put it in a box marked suitable for microwave oven. We put it in a taxi, we drove off. We pointed at some woods in a brochure and said, take us to the woods, we'll release the owl. So we got to the woods at dusk, and then we got the owl out. And by now the owl was really, really cross. I've never seen an animal so pissed off. He was so angry. He was like a bloke who's just got a paper cut off his eviction notice, you know? Just... And he was looking at me with his accusatory eyes. Is this what you do on your holidays, Beardy? Gaffer up owls and take them around the woods? What are you doing next year? Sellotape it up a gazelle, chucking it down a water slide, right? And I'm thinking, we have to get this owl out of the sellotape. And I was struggling with it, like struggling and straggling. I was straggling, the hair was straggling, and I was struggling. I was strugling as well, which is a combination of the struggle and it was hair. So, I was just doing a little cleansing hacker there, and anyway, so this is the point. I thought, I'm going to see the headmaster of my son's school on a cycling holiday to China. Oh, Mr. Bailey, what the hell are you... it's not what it looks like. It's Bill Oddie's birthday party. We're playing Pass the Parcel. And I'm thinking, how are we going to get this owl out of here? So I went and looked in the boot of the taxi, and he had an oven glove in his boot and some nail scissors in his glove box. I'm thinking, is this just a scam? Is this like some homing owl scam they do on tourists? I can't think like that. Anyway, so what I said, he didn't speak a word of English, this taxi driver, and what I said to him was, I said, you hold the owl's talons with the oven glove, and I'll cut the sellotape off with the nail scissors. Now, there's not a phrase book in the world. I even tried Cheltenham, and he gave me his dumpling lunch, you know, that was no good. I was just trying to do the right thing, Wychwood, you know? That's all we have to do, that's all we can do. You know, I'm a parent, my son was there, I've got to try and set a good example. You know, I'm not the most organised of parents. Other parents seem way more organised. They say things to me, they ask me questions I don't know the answer to, like, how old is your son now? And I go, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, it's an even number, I think. And then they'll say things, how tall is he now? How tall is he? And then people are obsessed with height. How tall is he? He must be quite tall. Is he quite tall now, your son? How tall is he? So I say, I've got a mnemonic for that. What's this? Why don't you shut up? He must be about this high. You should see their faces. But you know what? I'm supposed to be doing a school project at the moment, taking pictures of historical sites for his school project. This is all I've got so far. Right? Now, this is a futile act of defiance. But when I was in the island of Orkney, I was supposed to be taking beautiful old Neolithic settlements and standing stones and all that. But instead, a terrible puerile compunction came over me. And this is the picture that I ended up with. You'd have done the same. That's now my passport photo. I'm very proud of that. So when I turn up at the school, the other parents arrive, and it's a totally different world. They're so much more organised. It's like this. The kids are immaculate. Their hair is combed, the tie is on, the shoes match. They've got organic couscous for their lunch, a laminated agenda for the rest of their life. Thank you, Mama. And they toddle off to school, knowing everything is organised. Beautiful. see you later for the fencing lessons. Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye. And then I turn up with my son. There's a different scenario. We're just sort of shuffling towards school like this. We're late. He's wrapped in a dog blanket, held on with a Stranglers lapel badge from 1979. I'm cracking open a Glade plug-in with a claw hammer, putting it in his pocket to get the smell of cat piss out of his blazer. There's your lunch, a pepperami and a Red Bull. There you go. All your food groups there. I've forgotten his hockey kit, so he's got a 9-iron and an onion. I give him a bag of Haribo and a distress flare in case I forget to pick him up again. And then we're returning the school hamster, which hasn't made it over the weekend. So we've made a decoy out of a Scotch egg and 4 cigarette butts. Just put that in there, cover over the straw. No one will know any the wiser. Anyway, you've been a great crowd, Wychwood. Cheers.